When Xiao Che proposed to take his sworn sister as a secondary wife to protect her well, I smiled and handed over the divorce papers. If you are gonna put on an act, go all the way. Sign this? Then you can marry Sister Wanran in grand style, and the crown prince won't get suspicious. Xiao Che praised, my wife is truly clever and sensible. You are really my virtuous helper. I smiled, as I moved out half of the Marquis Manor's assets. Divine Physician Zhou, I am coming to find you. Before Xiao Che abused the original host. Now that I've transmigrated here, it is my turn to light the fire of this chasing wife crematorium. When Xiao Che pushed the door open and came in, his expression carried a deliberate calmness. He was about to bring up marrying his sworn sister Su Wanren, saying it was only a nominal marriage, only because Su Wanren had caught the crown prince's eye, and he couldn't bear to let her enter that tiger's den of the Eastern Palace. He wanted to protect her first, but he first noticed that the twin-fish jade pendant I always wore at my waist was gone. That was the love token he gave me. Warm jade smooth to the touch. Usually, I never took it off even when changing clothes. A hint of doubt flashed in Xiao Che's eyes as he asked, the twin-fish jade pendant at your waist, why aren't you wearing it today? I spoke in a flat tone. I gave it to Zhou Yuan. Yesterday he came to see me, saying his mother's birthday was coming and he couldn't find a gift he liked after searching for a long time. He was so anxious that a few of his hairs turned white. I picked up the tea and took a sip, continuing casually. I saw he was really in a difficult spot, and thinking about how he once saved my life, I gave him that twin-fish jade pendant. Xiao Che's body stiffened, his Adam's apple bobbed twice. You? What is wrong? Is that not allowed? I raised my eyes to look at him, with a what is the big deal expression on my face. He said his mother has always liked jade ornaments, and this piece is of good quality and an antique, so it should suit her taste. Besides, it is just a jade pendant. There is nothing wrong with giving it to him. Although it was our love token, as long as we still have love between us, whether the token is there or not shouldn't matter. Right? That twin-fish jade pendant was hardly some ordinary antique. It was warm jade that Xiaoqi had won at auction from a Western region jade merchant, using 3 years' worth of military merit silver he had saved up. The jade was gentle and warm, able to radiate warmth when held in one's palm. He personally drew the design of twin fish playing in water, and had the best jade carving master carve it. He gave it to me on our engagement day, saying, twin fish staying together, never parting year after year. Before, I carried it close to my body. Even when bathing, I couldn't bear to be too far from it. Xiao Che always said with a smile that this jade pendant was more precious than my life. At this moment, Xiao Che's expression was awful. The composure he had deliberately put on just now shattered completely. His gaze was full of shock and disbelief, as if seeing me for the first time. His lips parted slightly, his voice somewhat hoarse. You actually gave that jade pendant to Zhou Yuan. I nodded, my tone still casual. What is the big deal between him and me? It is just giving a piece of jade. Don't be so petty. Petty! Xiao Che suddenly stood up. Shen Lingwei, do you even know what that jade pendant means to us? That is I know. I interrupted him, deliberately showing some impatience. Isn't it just the love token you gave me? But a love token can't fill my stomach. He is my lifesaver. Shouldn't I help him? Zhou Yuan already asked. I can't refuse him and make him lose face, right? Is this just about helping out? Xiao Che's voice was suppressing anger. You just gave the love token I gave you to another man that easily. What do you even take our relationship for? I put on a disapproving expression and lightly shook my head. All right. Stop being so nitpicky over such a small matter. I've already explained to you in detail why he absolutely needs this jade pendant. Our relationship has such a solid foundation. It won't crack just because of a love token, right? I believe you are not such a shallow or petty person, right? Xiao Qi's expression was still ugly, as if there was a foul breath stuck in his chest that he couldn't swallow down or spit out. He couldn't refute, but not refuting made him feel suffocated and panicked, caught in a dilemma. This was exactly the result I wanted. Walk the scumbag's path. Leave the scumbag with nowhere to go. I'll show him, when a woman becomes a scumbag, men can't even compete. After saying those heart-blocking words, I comforted him. Husband, I'll have the craftsman carve an even better piece of jade later. Prettier than this one, okay? Xiaoqi furrowed his brow, staring at me. After a moment, he let out a heavy breath and spoke in a low voice. Forget it. I sneered inwardly, but nodded obediently on the surface. Husband, you are so kind. He was silent for a few seconds, his eyes flickering, then tentatively spoke. By the way, there is something else. Wanren has caught the crown prince's eye. He wants her to enter the Eastern Palace. I let out a fake surprised. Oh, isn't that a good thing? Crown princess, no less. Xiaoqi quickly waved his hand, his tone carrying deliberate pity. You know the crown prince isn't a good person, and the Eastern Palace is a dragon's den and tiger's lair. A young girl like Wanren would surely suffer if she went in. She'd rather die than marry the crown prince. I want to take her as an equal wife, in name only. Keep her protected by my side first, and we'll talk after this blows over. The scumbag's great sacrifice act has finally begun. I piled on smiles, my tone especially earnest. Of course, saving a life is better than building a 7-story pagoda. This is a wonderful deed. But Xiaoqi shook his head with a bitter smile, his eyes carrying a probing look. I know you probably feel resistant about this. What you just said also sounded like you were being passive-aggressive with me. But you also know my younger sister Wanren's temperament. If I don't save her and really let the crown prince take her as his wife, she'd rather die than submit. I immediately stepped forward, gently pressing on his arm, my tone becoming even gentler. Husband, you've truly misunderstood me. We're husband and wife of one heart. How could I be passive-aggressive with you? I can see how important Wanren is to you. If you just watch her get into trouble without doing anything, you'll never have peace in your heart for the rest of your life. And how am I any different? Really? A flash of pleasant surprise appeared in Xiaoqi's eyes, his tone becoming more eager. I looked up at him, my gaze affectionate and serious. Of course it is true. But inside, I had already rolled my eyes, true my ass. Can't you tell yourself whether it is true or not? If you really just wanted to save your sister, why would you act so cautiously? You should have been righteous about it long ago. To put it bluntly, you just want to take another woman as a concubine. And you still want me, the main wife, to give my approval. You want all the good stuff for yourself, as if things could be that easy. Xiaoqi instantly relaxed, turning his hand to hold mine, his tone full of gratification. Think about it. Although the crown prince doesn't know us too well, he still knows my feelings for you. Now, if you say you want to take Wanren as an equal wife, based on my usual temperament, I most likely wouldn't agree. Once he becomes suspicious and thinks your marriage is fake, he'll only harass Wanren even more relentlessly. Then all our efforts would be for nothing. Hearing this, Xiaoqi slightly furrowed his brows, and after pondering for a moment nodded. You make a good point. Then what suggestions does Madam have? I leaned in closer and lowered my voice. Why don't we first write a divorce agreement, and then you can marry her with great fanfare. In outsiders' eyes, especially the crown prince's, there won't be any suspicion. First, once he knows Wanren has become the Marquis Manor's official wife, the newly titled, making her the official wife also gives her proper respect. Even if you two divorce later, the title of official Marchioness can be considered some compensation for her. That won't do. Xiaoqi immediately objected, his tone carrying a hint of panic. Madam, how could I sign a divorce agreement with you? I patted the back of his hand and smiled gently. Husband, what kind of feelings do we share? Could a mere divorce agreement really separate us? Our feelings have long transcended these formalities. Look, the love token you gave me is just an object. But now that it is gone, has it affected the bond between us? As I spoke, I sneered inwardly. This scumbag, you gotta bullshit him like this. Fortunately, in the book, He and the original host, Shen Lingwei, were set to have deep feelings, having gone through life and death together. Otherwise, there wouldn't be the later chasing wife to the crematorium plot, nor would he suffer so much after tormenting Shen Lingwei to death. But who told him to change his heart now? He wants me to play along with some chasing wife to the crematorium game, and even wants to torment me to death. Not a chance in hell. I need to live well. Once I get the divorce papers, I'll take the money and live however I want. He and his precious little sister Su Wanren can do whatever the hell they want. Xiao Qi stared fixedly into my eyes, and after a long while, slowly nodded. You are right. I wasn't being thoughtful enough. Then, he kept showering me with praise. Madam is truly wise, both considering the bigger picture and being so thoughtful and considerate. He also solemnly promised, after Wanran enters the household, I will absolutely have no physical contact with her. Once you sign the divorce papers and temporarily move out, I will definitely visit you every day. I just smiled without a word, nodding repeatedly. Within a few days, the divorce papers were in my hands. I conveniently took half of the Marquis Manor's belongings and found an elegant courtyard to settle in, looking at the room full of gold, silver, and jewels. My eyes went wide. The feeling of getting rich suddenly, it is just too damn satisfying. Actually, when I was moving the valuables, Xiao Qi did try to stop me. But I shut him up with just 1 cent. The act has to be convincing. If the crown prince sees through it, how would he let Su Wanran go? Your sister would be in danger then. Upon hearing this, he immediately backed off and let me move all those treasures to my heart's content. The bond between Xiao Qi and Shen Lingwei was forged at the gates of death. That year, Xiao Qi was ambushed by political enemies and fell off a cliff severely injured. It was Shen Lingwei who carried him on her back through the desolate wilderness for 3 days, feeding him her own blood to keep him alive. She literally snatched half his life back from the king of hell himself. Later, when the border was in crisis, Xiao Qi was trapped during a military campaign. Again, it was Shen Lingwei, who disguised herself as a man, infiltrated the enemy camp, and risked her life to deliver military intelligence, helping him crush the enemy forces. But she herself was shot through the shoulder blade by an arrow, leaving her with a lifelong ailment. This perfect couple who had been through life and death together should have been the most enviable love story in the capital. But it shattered completely after Xiao Qi forcefully took his adopted sister Su Wanren as his wife. When Su Wanren first entered the Marquise's manor, she appeared weak and pitiful, calling them brother and sister-in-law at every turn. But then she would turn around and play the victim in front of Xiao Qi, spreading rumors that Shen Lingwei couldn't tolerate her. An orphan girl, she even secretly tampered with Shen Lingwei's medicine, making her body grow weaker by the day. Shen Lingwei presented evidence multiple times. Yet Xiao Qi always brushed her off with excuses, like Wanren is lonely and pitiful. You are the Marquise's wife. You should be more tolerant of her. Then turned to comfort the tearful Su Wanren, who looked like a rain-drenched pear blossom. He could see Su Wanren's tears, but couldn't see the light in Shen Lingwei's eyes slowly dying out. That was the despair of someone who had once braved mountains of blades and seas of fire with him, only to be pushed into an ice cellar by his own hands. Finally, on a snowy night, Shen Lingwei was found collapsed in the snow at the Marquis Manor's side courtyard, no longer breathing. Her body only had a few bruises that looked like accidental bumps. Only then did Xiao Qi panic. That woman who once risked her life for him, that woman who always smiled behind him and said, "I believe in you," was just gone like that. He searched for clues like a madman, unable to sleep day or night. The pain was so unbearable he wished he could follow her in death. Until 3 months later, he pried the truth from Su Wanren's personal maid. Su Wanren was jealous that Shen Lingwei had everything. She bribed the servants in the manor to drag the sickly Shen Lingwei into the snow at night, frozen to death, then staged it as an accident. Upon learning the truth, Xiao Qi locked Su Wanren in the woodshed, giving her only scraps and cold leftovers each day, making her experience firsthand the illness and cold that Shen Lingwei had suffered. He ruined the beauty she was so proud of, broke the fingers she used to garner sympathy, forcing her to recount over and over how she killed Shen Lingwei. When Su Wanren sought death, he saved her again, only saying coldly, "You caused her death. How do you deserve a quick and painless death? I want you to live tormented day and night forever, remembering that you owe her a life." The moment I recalled this plot, I couldn't help but scrunch my face into a knot, all twisted. I suspect the author is a pervert, and I really can't understand what kind of person would enjoy reading this kind of angst fiction. With that time, wouldn't it be better to scroll through some soft boys with 8-pack abs, licking the screen and feasting your eyes on handsome guys? Life is already hard enough, yet they insist on seeking out angst novels to add to the misery. Isn't this purely adding frost to snow? I really couldn't help but rant. Most likely those who like reading angst novels have lives that are too smooth in reality. They usually don't have any troubles, so they want to find some bitterness to taste in books. Otherwise, there is really no way to explain this hobby. But now the tables have turned. This scumbag woman actually transmigrated into Shen Lingwei. Before, it was Xiao Che tormenting Shen Lingwei. Now it is my turn to torment him. From now on, only I get to torment him. Does he think he can make me suffer again? No way in hell. The day Su Wanren entered the Marquis Manor was truly unparalleled in splendor. Red silk paved the road. The dowry lined up from the head of the street to the end. Everyone in the capital knew about it, and the news of my divorce from Xiao Che spread even faster, as if it had grown wings, reaching every street and alley within a single day. The ministers at court discussed it privately. The young ladies in noble circles huddled together whispering. Even the street vendors and peddlers in every alley were holding their rice bowls, heatedly discussing without end. Some cursed Xiao Che for being heartless and ungrateful, abandoning his wedded wife for a sworn sister, voicing their indignation on my behalf. Some envied Su Wanren's good fortune, actually snatching up the position of Marquise's wife. Others shook their heads, saying this matter was fishy. They refused to believe I would willingly divorce the Marquise, who was supposedly deeply in love with me, convinced there must be a conspiracy behind it. A few days later, the Empress Dowager held a spring appreciation banquet, inviting all the nobles in the capital. Xiao Che brought Su Wanren along to attend the banquet, under everyone's watchful eyes. He raised his cup and announced to the crowd. He loved Su Wanren the most. Xiao Che's words were meant to make the crown prince completely believe that his relationship with Su Wanren wasn't just a temporary measure, to cut off the crown prince's hopes entirely. In the original book, Shen Lingwei pressed him on why he said he loved Su Wanren the most. Xiao Che used this exact excuse to brush off Shen Lingwei. Everything was just a temporary measure. He had no choice. Too bad. This scumbag woman transmigrated here. He didn't get the chance to explain to me. Where would I have the time to listen to his made-up nonsense? On the same day he brought Su Wanren to the spring appreciation banquet. I was accompanying Zhou Yuan on a spring outing in the outskirts of the capital. Zhou Yuan was no ordinary person. He was a divine doctor renowned throughout the land. Whether high officials or common folk, everyone who met him would respectfully address him as Divine Dr. Zhou. He was the one who cured the Empress Dowager's old ailment. Many important ministers' difficult ailments were cured thanks to him. Despite his esteemed status, he had no airs about him. He not only treated the nobility on regular days, but when treating the poor, he sometimes didn't charge a single coin. His reputation among the common folk was extremely high. Yet this divine doctor was already 24 or 25, but still hadn't married. Matchmakers in the capital nearly wore out his doorstep, but he remained unmoved. He usually stayed away from women entirely. He was the famous cold-faced divine doctor in the capital. Now, this cold-faced divine doctor had unprecedentedly taken me, the former marquise's wife, on a spring outing. Once the news spread, it instantly became even more explosive news than the marquis divorced and married someone new. Somebody drew a picture from afar of me and him walking side by side in the peach blossom grove. Pink and white petals fell on our shoulders, and his manner when handing me a handkerchief was gentle and soft. It caused everyone to gossip. Those who had spoken up for me before were even more excited, saying that Zhou Yuan and I were truly a match made in heaven. One was an abandoned, kind-hearted madam, the other was a benevolent doctor who saved lives. Both were rare, good people. Women on the street who saw us too would directly smile and give us their blessings. Facing all this, I smiled without a word. Nor did I explain. I was a scumbag woman through and through. I always followed the principle of not initiating, not refusing, not taking responsibility. When Zhou Yuan heard others teasing, he only said lightly, "The innocent need no explanation." He didn't explicitly say that there was nothing romantic between us. How could I not see through his little intentions? He clearly has feelings for me, wanting to take things further with me. He is just waiting to see my attitude. That is why he won't commit to his words. When I stepped into the new residence with some weariness from returning late, Xiaoqie came uninvited, standing in the center of the main hall with a livid face. The green bricks beneath his feet seemed about to be stomped to pieces by him. On the 8 Immortals table before him lay a painting with the ink not yet dry. In the painting, Zhou Yuan and I were sharing a small boat, with him handing over a teacup. It was painted with a touch of tender affection. Beside the painting were piled several slips of paper, all gossip from the capital copied by the servants. Between the lines were all words like, "The former Madam of the Marquis Manor and Divine Dr. Zhou are deeply in love," and countless commoners waited at the ferry to watch the two tour together. "Why don't you explain? What exactly is going on?" Xiaoqie's voice trembled. Even the finger pointing at the painting was shaking. On his way here, he was publicly mocked by Wang Hu, the general who guards the nation, with whom he had always been at odds. The Marquise is so fortunate. You just married the delicate Miss Su, and right after, your former wife found the divine doctor as a companion. Neither owes the other anything. The mockery in those words made him lose all face in front of his companions. Some of the consorts in the palace who were on good terms with me had sent word, openly cursing Su Wanren as a seductive fox bewitching her master, stirring up chaos in the Marquis' manor, making the scene even more embarrassing. Only then did he come rushing to cause trouble for me in a fit of rage. I pretended to look blankly at the painting, then furrowed my brows. I was just discussing some matters with divine physician Zhou. How did it get painted like this? Discussing matters? You need to go boating to discuss matters. Xiaoqie stepped forward, his eyes full of suspicion and anger. The whole capital is gossiping about you two. Don't you have anything to explain? My voice instantly carried an aggrieved choke. I was only being kind-hearted. That day I heard Sister Wanren kept coughing after falling into the water, like she developed a lingering illness. Divine physician Zhou is a rare, brilliant doctor in the world. So I thought to ask him about remedies for recovery, to prepare some medicinal cuisine for Sister Wanren. When I went looking for him, he was boating. The two of us are completely innocent. There is nothing to avoid, so I shared the boat with him. Who knew someone saw us from afar and painted it like this, spreading it everywhere? In my heart, I feel more wronged than anyone. Xiaoqie's momentum instantly weakened somewhat, his tone hesitant. It was for Wanren. How can my husband not believe me? I lowered my eyes, tears seeming about to fall. You married Sister Wanren. I never thought about competing for anything, only wanting harmony in the Marquis' manor. Now I am being so considerate of her, yet you still doubt me like this. It is me who took my husband's trust too seriously. The ashen color on Xiaoqie's face gradually faded, replaced by obvious guilt. He stepped forward and took my hand. It is my fault, I was foolish. You are so considerate. Not only do you not resent me for marrying Wanren, but you also worry about her health. Yet, I believed the gossip from outside and wrongly blamed you. It is all my fault, wife, don't take it to heart. I softly let out and raised my hand to wipe away non-existent tears from the corners of my eyes. Forget it. We've been husband and wife for so many years. How could I truly blame you? Xiaoqie's face was filled with guilt. In the end, I casually mentioned, Divine Dr. Zhou also said today, if I am interested. I can go to his medicine cottage in the future to look at some medical books and learn some ways to take care of my health. I am planning to go there first thing tomorrow morning. Xiao Che's expression instantly darkened again. His brows furrowed tightly. Obviously, jealousy was surging, feeling quite displeased inside. Wife, don't go. I looked up at him, my tone light and airy, as if speaking of some trivial matter. Don't overthink it. My relationship with Divine Dr. Zhou is just like yours with Sister Wanren. He is my life savior, and also my good brother. I guarantee there is nothing improper between us. Gossip is called gossip precisely because it can't become true. Don't mind it. What others say is their business. We must trust each other. Xiao Che's face instantly flushed bright red. The corners of his mouth twitched several times, as if wanting to retort, but the words reached his lips and were swallowed back. He just clenched his fists tightly, his expression even uglier than before. Looking at his frustrated appearance, I sneered inwardly. Come on, let's hurt each other. You are allowed to have a sister you must marry and protect well, but I can't have a brother to discuss medical knowledge with. When you were blinded by lust and abandoned me, did you ever think about today? This bit of interest is just the beginning. Xiaoqi was under immense pressure. This pressure came from all directions. The Empress Dowager, the imperial concubines, the gossip of court ministers. The storytellers among the common folk had originally used our former love story as a template, retelling it over and over. Everyone remembered that we were once the envied model of love in the capital. We were the perfect lovebirds that countless newlyweds aspired to be. No one expected that such a beautiful tale would end in divorce. What was even more ironic, we had just separated, and Xiaoqi had already hastily married a new marquise's wife. And he even brought her to the Empress Dowager's banquet with great fanfare. Well now, the spit from the entire capital was about to drown him. In contrast, although I also went boating on the lake with Zhou Yuan in a high-profile manner, my reputation was worlds apart. Everyone said Xiaoqi was a heartless man who abandoned his wife to marry another, and Zhou Yuan was already a well-known gentle gentleman in the capital, while I had always done good deeds and accumulated merit. This way, when we went out together, not only did no one curse us as shameless couple, instead, we received nothing but blessings. Everyone said I finally saw through that scumbag's true face and found a good man. All of this was actually within my expectations. When I proposed divorce to Xiaoqi back then, I had already anticipated this. But that bastard only had one thing on his mind, marrying his sworn sister Su Xuanren. He didn't consider for a moment the public criticism and infamy he'd face later. Now karma has come. I heard he flew into a rage at the Marquise's manor, smashing many expensive vases and paintings he'd collected. He was so angry his gums swelled up, and he even hurt his foot kicking a stone. Before long, he came to my door with Su Wanren in tow. Su Wanren was sobbing, with a big bump swollen on her forehead. She said she was hit by vegetable scraps thrown by a vegetable seller when she went out. The moment Xiaoqi saw me, he started berating me. Look at the lousy idea you came up with. Now, things have gotten completely out of hand. I feigned innocence, spreading my hands with a sigh. At this point, there is nothing I can do either. Back then, I only thought about making room for my sister, giving her the best, not letting her suffer any grievance. And I had to play my part well so the crown prince wouldn't see through it. Who knew it would turn out like this? Changing the subject, I started blaming him instead. You are something else too. Taking her to the Empress Dowager's banquet was one thing, but couldn't you have just stayed quiet? You just had to declare in front of so many people that the one you love most is Sister Wanren. Have you forgotten how many people you told before that I was your one true love? Those people who can't stand you. Aren't they just waiting to catch you slipping up? Even if you had just taken her out to show face first, waited a few days before whispering sweet nothings, it wouldn't have come to this. My tone was full of sincere concern for their sake, not a trace of sarcasm whatsoever. Yet every sentence poked right at his mistakes. Xiaoqi also knew he was in the wrong, lowering his head and mumbling. Wasn't that to make the crown prince completely give up on marrying Wanren? I was just playing along at the time, caught up in the moment, Didn't expect things to turn out like this. We both meant well, but made things worse. I sighed. What is done is done. There is no other way. We can only let time slowly smooth things over. Once the rumors fade and everyone stops paying attention, it'll be fine. I waved my hand and glanced at the sky. Enough talk. I have an appointment with Divine Dr. Joe to study medicine. It is almost time. I'll be going first. It is fine. Bad things will always pass. You two go back and live your lives well. Xiaoqi became anxious as soon as he heard this, his expression darkening. What time do you think it is? Sun's about to set. You going to his place so late to study medicine? A man and woman alone, what does that look like? I feigned annoyance and scolded. When did the Marquis become so petty? Divine Dr. Joe is swamped with matters during the day. When would he have time? The clinic is closed at night, and he is exhausted. Yet he is still willing to make time to teach me medicine. We should be grateful. How are you getting jealous over nothing? You really don't know what is good for you. Besides, isn't me learning medicine also for you and Sister Wanren? Once I've learned it, I can help regulate your bodies. How can you think of the pure sibling relationship between him and me as something so filthy? Marquise, you've really changed now. Changed so much I almost don't recognize you anymore. I pushed them towards the door. All right, you should hurry back. Don't let others see you. On the surface, we've already divorced. You bringing your new wife to find me all the time. I know you are thinking of me. But in others' mouths, who knows what they'll say? Maybe that you brought your new concubine to pressure and interrogate me. It is not good for the Marquis Manor's reputation. Saying that, I turned around to fetch some things. A box of pastries from the old established shop in the south of the city, and a few carefully selected small gifts. I also put on the phoenix hairpin I usually wear, and tied on the sachet embroidered with magnolias. I deliberately dressed a bit more glamorously than usual before turning to head out. Xiaoqi stood rooted in place, his face severely contorted, breathing heavily like a bellows. He looked like he was about to step forward to stop me. I lightly skipped a few steps forward, dodged his hand, and walked straight to the carriage at the door. The maid made a perfect assist from the side. It has been so long since I've seen Madame this lively. When those words came out, Xiaoqi's face turned even greener. His head turned green too. His heart was probably both sour and aching. After all, the person he once deeply loved now appeared to be cheating. Like this. And the other person was none other than the famous Divine Dr. Joe of the capital. Even passers-by said they were a match made in heaven. Anyon looking would think their own wife was about to run off with someone. As expected, he chased after and came to the front of the carriage. Hindered by the passers-by around, he could only lower his voice and ask, "When can we get back together?" I didn't lift the carriage curtain, just told the coachman to drive on, my voice carrying a hint of dismissive impatience. Don't worry. Once this storm blows over, when it is time to reconcile, we naturally will. Hurry back now. It is getting late. After saying that, I started humming a little tune inside the carriage. My heart felt truly delighted I could finally go see Zhou Yuan. He was so warm and gentle like jade, with handsome features, attentive and considerate, always providing such emotional fulfillment. Learning medicine from him, having him keep me company while I study, wouldn't that be a beautiful tale? Thinking about it, I started craving. I want to eat. My frequent visits to Zhou Yuan to learn medicine ultimately made Xiaoqi harbor resentment. He was uneasy. He sent servants to linger outside the medicine cottage. Those petty schemes were plain as day. I didn't really care though, because I had nothing to hide even though Zhou Yuan and I were alone together in the same room. But I was indeed studying medicine. It was just having Zhou Yuan show me a few acupoints on my body. Could there really be any other interpretation? Around the hour of high, I returned to my residence. That servant also went back to report to Xiaoqi. Just as he left, I suddenly felt a headache and fever. I probably caught a cold at the medicine hut earlier. I had to go back to get treated. So I turned back to Zhou Yuan's medicine hut. It was getting late, and to avoid more hassle, I simply stayed in his guest room. I stayed there for the whole night just like that. The next day, just as dawn was breaking, hurried footsteps came from outside the courtyard, accompanied by Xiao Chei's suppressed fury. I had just gotten up and put on my outer robe. The guest room door was slammed open with a bang, and he barged in with bloodshot eyes. He saw me sitting on the edge of the bed with my clothes somewhat disheveled, and behind me stood Zhou Yuan holding a medicine bowl. That anger instantly flared up even more. He asked me, "What is going on? You clearly went home last night. So, why are you here again?" Then he pointed at Zhou Yuan's nose and cursed. "You beast! How dare you hide my woman, Marquise?" I stepped forward to block Zhou Yuan, my tone turning a few degrees colder. "Speak more politely to divine physician Zhou. Things are not as you think. It is not what I think." Xiao Qi was so angry that the veins on his forehead were throbbing. His gaze swept over the furnishings of the guest room, making him even more furious. "You spent the night at his place, and it is not what I think. The servants clearly saw you return to your residence yesterday. So, how did you end up here? Explain yourself. Explain this to me clearly. Don't tell me you two had a secret rendezvous at night. Lord Ning, please calm down." Zhou Yuan stepped forward, handing the medicine bowl to me, his voice still calm. "Miss Shen did indeed return home yesterday, but in the middle of the night, she sent someone to relay a message, saying she had caught a cold and felt terribly dizzy, so I had her come over for treatment. The wind was strong at night, and she has a weak constitution. If I made her travel back home, wouldn't that be disregarding her life? There is nothing improper between us. On the contrary, Lord Ning only knows how to fixate on matters between men and women, yet doesn't know to care about her health. Besides, you and Miss Shen have long since divorced. This kind of meddling is rather overstepping, isn't it? Nothing improper? Fuck your nothing improper." Xiao Qi was struck where it hurt and raised his hand to hit Zhou Yuan. Su Wanren weakly and gently grabbed his arm. "Brother, don't be impulsive. Sister Shen only stayed here because she was feeling unwell. Divine Dr. Zhou also meant well. If you get so angry and hurt yourself, what would we do? Besides, if others saw this, they might think I couldn't tolerate Sister Shen, and that is what caused your divorce." These words sounded like reconciliation, but in reality, every single one was stabbing at Xiao Chei's heart. She was both implying that I was shamelessly staying at Zhou Yuan's apothecary without knowing to avoid suspicion, while also keeping herself completely clean, putting on an act of being wronged yet still considering the bigger picture. The epitome of a green tea bitch. But this time, Xiao Qi didn't soften up like before. He suddenly flung Su Wanren's hand away, the irritation in his eyes almost overflowing, his voice turning several degrees colder. "Shut up. Don't forget. I divorced Shen Lingwei because of you. What are you being passive-aggressive about?" Su Wanren stumbled from being flung aside, her face turned pale instantly, yet her eyes reddened quickly, tears falling like a broken string, looking even more pitiful. I thought to myself, she truly deserves to be called a top-tier green tea bitch. Even I couldn't help but feel pity looking at her. I almost wanted to wipe her tears for her. I stood to the side, holding the warm medicine Zhou Yuan had handed me, nearly bursting out laughing. This was the very first time Xiao Qi had gotten angry at Su Wanran. In the original book, every time Su Wanran harmed me, all she had to do was act pitiful and shed a few tears, and Xiao Qi would blame everything on me, at best cold words. At worst getting physical with me, every time making the original owner's chest ache with anger. Now the tables have turned. It was Su Wanren's turn to taste what being neglected felt like. This time, Xiao Qi finally wasn't buying it. Xiao Qi flew into a rage and was about to hit Zhou Yuan. He was quick with my eyes and hands, grabbed his wrist and slapped him across the face. I said coldly, "Xiao Qi, ever since you married Su Wanran, how did you become so unreasonable? I can barely recognize you anymore. Divine Dr. Zhou kindly kept me here for treatment, and not only are you ungrateful, you dare to accuse him falsely. Apologize to Divine Dr. Zhou." Xiao Qi was stunned by this slap. He froze for a moment before reacting, trembling with rage. What? His own woman stayed overnight at another man's medicine hut. He came to confront her, only to get slapped in return. And now he was being ordered to apologize to that wild man. Was there anything more pathetic in this world? Was there any justice left? Was there any law left? Xiaoqi pointed at me. Unable to speak for a long while, he suddenly started coughing violently and actually coughed up blood. I sneered inwardly, but put on a helpless expression. I used a handkerchief to wipe his mouth. I sighed. What? Even now? You still think I am wronging you? Xiaoqi was so aggrieved that tears were welling up in his eyes. I thought he was going to blow up at me. He suddenly grabbed my hand, his eyes filled with a hint of deep affection. Madam, let's stop this fuss and get back together. I can't live without you. Come back to the Marquise Manor with me, okay? I calmly withdrew my hand, deliberately lowering my voice with a hint of worry. Marquise, there are too many prying eyes here. We're too close. What if word reaches the Crown Prince and he catches on? Sister Wanren's marriage is what matters most. We can't let the Crown Prince think we're still involved. He already wants to drag Sister Wanren into a dragon's den. If he notices something's off and competes for Sister Wanren again, and something happens to her, I'll never have peace for the rest of my life. A flash of emotion crossed Xiaoqi's eyes. His eyes gradually reddened, and his voice softened. I know you are just saying that out of anger. It was my fault. I was inconsiderate when I impulsively married Su Wanren. Come back with me, okay? At this moment, more and more people gathered outside the courtyard. I leaned closer to Xiaoqi, lowering my voice even more, my tone full of sincerity. I am really not angry. Don't worry. It is just not the time to talk about this right now. Go back first. Don't make a scene, or outsiders might see through us. Otherwise, all those scoldings you and Wanren endured before would have been for nothing. Our plan would also fall apart at the last moment. I'd feel so bad for you. Our divorce, you marrying Sister Wanren, it was all to block the Crown Prince's path, to scheme against him. If he finds out this was all planned by us, when he truly becomes emperor in the future, do you think you'll have good days ahead? He'll definitely find ways to target you. Every word struck right at his weak spot. He looked at the sincerity in my eyes, then glanced at Su Wanren silently shedding tears beside us. Finally, he let out a sigh of relief. All right, I'll listen to you. I'll come find you tonight, and we can talk properly. I smiled and nodded, watching his retreating figure, then sweeping my gaze over Su Wanren's face alternating between pale and ashen. I laughed inwardly. Xiaoqi. Oh Xiaoqi, you finally have a day when someone's got you in their grasp. As for him saying he'd come to my residence tonight, it'd be a ghost's miracle if he could find me. I stayed at the medicine hut, facing Zhou Yuan. I developed an unprecedented eagerness to learn. It must be because his face was too eye-catching. Looking at him made learning feel like ordering a male model at a nightclub. Addictive. Zhou Yuan was a smart man. He could see through my little scheme of using him to anger Xiaoqi. Yet he never called me out on it. He didn't mind, and while sitting leisurely, suddenly raised his eyebrow and asked with a smile, maybe one day I'll find an opportunity to ask the Empress Dowager to grant us a marriage, pairing you and me together. What would you do? I carelessly swirled my teacup, bringing out that scummy woman rhetoric. We'll talk about it when the time comes. Feelings are never certain. Who can force anyone? He stared at me for a long while, then sighed softly. You really have changed. He had always been clever, knew his limits, yet had an understated way of protecting others. He anticipated that Xiaoqi would come causing trouble at the medicine cottage tonight, after failing to find me at my residence. He had arranged guards to stand watch around the area in advance. I secretly grumbled to myself. This way of being both flirtatious and protective. If this were modern times, he'd probably be a top-tier player who could sweep everyone off their feet. At nightfall, Xiaoqi indeed came. His face full of rage, he pointed at me and demanded, "You are the one who grew tired of me. You deliberately coaxed me into divorcing, when you had already changed your heart long ago. All of this was your scheme, wasn't it?" I pretended to be confused and blinked. My tone innocent, Marquise. I don't understand what you are saying. How did this become my scheme? Who was the one who promised to grow old with me, then turned around wanting to marry his sworn sister? How could I have foreseen that you would change your heart halfway? His eyes instantly reddened, his voice trembling, carrying a hint of pleading. I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. Can we get back together? Stop tormenting me. I can't live without you. I'll go back and divorce Su Wanren right now. She shouldn't have come between us. I'll find another way to save her. The smile on my face suddenly faded, and my tone turned cold. Done playing around. It was time to completely tear off all pretenses. If you truly feel remorse, truly have sincerity, you should first divorce Su Wanren, then come find me. I've already given you a chance. You are the one who didn't cherish it. Go back. Xiaoxi immediately panicked, explaining in a flustered manner. I didn't. I wasn't. Could it be? Is it really impossible to have the best of both worlds? I raised an eyebrow and retorted. What a coincidence. I also want the best of both worlds. Be your wife at the Marquise's manor during the day, and come to Zhou Yuan's medicine hut at night to learn some advanced medical skills from him. Do you think that would work? No, he roared hoarsely, his eyes full of obsession. You can only belong to me alone. I spread my hands, my tone light and airy. The magistrate may set fires, but the common folk can't even light a lamp. Men and women, how can they be the same? He retorted angrily. I looked up at him with a sidelong glance, the mockery in my eyes undisguised. Oh, when a man has 3 wives and 4 concubines, it is called being romantic. But when it is a woman, it becomes being loose. On what grounds? Xiaoqi, remember this. Well, I only accept wholehearted devotion here. If you are sincere to me, I'll stay with you through life and death. If you change your heart, I'll be even more ruthless than you. Between us, there is no going back anymore. Having said that, I called out loudly, show him out. The guards came forward upon hearing this, blocking his path. Xiaoqi completely lost it, raising his hand to shove them aside, shouting harshly, I am the Marquis of this dynasty. You bunch of slaves. How dare you defy your superiors? Are you tired of living? Trespassing into a private residence and still daring to act so insolent. A cold voice rang out from behind. Zhou Yuan had somehow already been standing under the corridor, his expression filled with icy coldness. Even if I hurt you today, and this matter is brought before the emperor, you'd be the one in the wrong. Believe it or not. I immediately shrank behind Zhou Yuan, my voice instantly softening, with a deliberate hint of grievance. Teacher, he is so scary, you must stand up for me. Ying ying ying. Xiaoqi was already seething with rage, provoked by my calling out teacher, and Zhou Yuan's cold words. He actually spat out a mouthful of blood with a wah. He collapsed stiffly to the ground. The attendants rushed forward to help, clumsily carrying him back. Xiaoqi truly loved me, so he could be angered by me to the point of coughing up blood. But I couldn't quite figure it out if he was so afraid of losing me. Why did he cheat? It was probably because the original host's unconditional love from before gave him an illusion. No matter how big a mistake he made, I would never leave him. And everything I am doing now is just correcting this absurd notion of his. At this moment, Su Wanren happened to appear, saying she wanted to talk to me. I glanced at her, my tone cold. Xiaoqi isn't here. So, stop pretending to be a green tea bitch. I have no interest in seeing you like this. She immediately changed her demeanor, looking at me with contempt in a victor's tone. You are really a stupid woman, acting recklessly just because of brother's favoritism toward you. However, I should thank you for doing these stupid things. It is you who pushed him away step by step, giving me the chance to become his sole favorite. You are way too jealous over nothing. Brother just married me into the household. Nothing happened between us. But tonight, with him angered by you like this, it is the perfect time for me to swoop in. From today on, you, the former madam of the Marquise's household, should officially become a thing of the past. I was originally thinking about how to erase your place in his heart. I didn't expect you to be so tactful. Her tone was arrogant and brazen, as if she had already secured her victory. I lightly shook my head and spoke unhurriedly. You are way too confident. Trust me, men are like dogs. The more they can't have something, the more they want it. You can never replace the position I hold in his heart. You'll spend your whole life living in my shadow. Even if you really sleep with him tonight, you are nothing but a tool for him to vent. Don't believe me? Let's wait and see. A few words struck right at her sore spot. Su Wanren, who had been so arrogant just moments ago, instantly turned ashen. She clearly knew she couldn't beat me, yet refused to admit she was inferior to others. She could only drop a "then, let's wait and see" before flinging her sleeves and leaving in embarrassment. I seemed to have let her go, but in reality, I hadn't spared her at all. With Xiao Che's obsessive personality, Su Wanren's days staying by his side from now on definitely won't be pleasant. After all, I had transmigrated into a chasing wife crematorium novel. If Xiao Che can't have me, he'll chase after me relentlessly, like a dog. At this point, anything Su Wanren says to slander me will only make Xiao Che despise her even more. The characters' personalities were already set in stone. The ending of a chasing wife crematorium is hard to change. The only difference is, having transmigrated here, I've become clever. I wasn't tormented to death like the original host. Instead, I knew when to pull out in time, becoming the rule maker of this emotional game. Zhou Yuan beside me let out a soft laugh. I am becoming more and more interested in you. Shall we go boating again tomorrow and rile up Xiao Che some more? I patted his shoulder and teased. I didn't expect you to look like a gentle gentleman on the surface but be so scheming inside. Zhou Yuan raised an eyebrow. I've always looked down on fickle men. Making trouble for him, I am more than happy to. But I knew clearly in my heart, this was just his excuse. He was clearly enjoying the feeling of going out with me. After all, I am beautiful, fun to talk to, and smell nice. Being with me, isn't that just a blessing? The second day, Zhou Yuan and I went boating together, strolled the streets eating sugar figurines, and went to buy rouge. I noticed wave after wave of servants secretly following us. Running back to report to Xiao Che, however, Xiao Che didn't come personally to pick a fight. He must have been fuming with rage in the Marquise's manner, yet helpless to do anything. Every detail of his most beloved woman dating another man, he surely knew crystal clear. Yet he had no way to stop it, could only rage impotently in the manner. I put myself in his position and thought about it. If it were me, I'd probably be so angry, I'd cough up 3 liters of blood. And Su Wanren staying by his side must have had to endure his foul mood, having a hard time sure enough. At lunchtime, Su Wanren came crying and sniffling. Her face bore a clear slap mark. She walked with a limp, her eyes full of resentment. I flashed her a victor's smile. What I said last night came true, didn't it? You are nothing but a loser, too. The injuries on your body were from Xiao Che beating you in a rage, right? It must be because you badmouthed me to him again that he laid his hands on you. I fanned myself, leisurely analyzing the scene that might have unfolded at the Marquise's mansion. Watching Su Wanren's expression grow uglier and uglier. I knew my guess was right. I pressed further. Come on. What exactly do you want from me? She clutched her chest and said through gritted teeth. The Marquise sent me to apologize to you and find a way to appease your anger. Otherwise, I won't need to return to the Marquise's mansion. The hatred in her words was almost overflowing. Obviously, Xiao Che had completely fallen out with her. I said indifferently, return to the Marquise's mansion, impossible. She instantly burst into tears, looking utterly pitiful like a pear blossom bathed in rain. Sister Shen, please. I beg you to come back with me, otherwise I don't know what will happen to me. I looked at her without a shred of sympathy, only feeling schadenfreude. If I forgave her, it would be the same as killing myself with my own hands. This woman was vicious at heart. In the original book, she literally drove the original owner to death. Her ending was already predetermined. She could only be tortured to death by Xiao Che. I turned to the servant who had come with her and instructed. Go back and tell your Marquis. In the Marquise's mansion, it is either me or her. He naturally knows what to do. Su Wanren's eyes went wide as saucers as she knelt down in terror to beg for mercy. Sister, please don't say that. The Marquis will really kill me. I feigned surprise. Is it that exaggerated? After all, you are the sworn sister he dotes on the most. For your sake. He dared to defy the crown prince, and even publicly declared that you are the one he loves most. How could he turn on you just like that, and even want to kill you? At most, he'll just drive you away. Don't overthink it. But I knew clearly in my heart, Xiao Che's personality was inherently extreme. He loved me to the bone, and would never give Su Wanren any chance to appear before me again. If he only drove her away, he would surely worry that this sworn sister wouldn't accept it. Who knows when she might pop up again to stir up trouble. Then I would leave him again, and he'd never have another chance to make me turn back. He understood well the principle of, if you cut the weeds but don't remove the roots, they'll grow back when the spring wind blows. So I guessed he would either be crazy enough to directly uproot Su Wanren completely, or he would hire people to imprison her, making sure she'd never have a chance to appear before me again. As for which one he'd choose, I didn't care. Either way, whichever he chose, it was just dogs biting dogs between them. Nothing to do with me. Xiao Che was already an obsessively paranoid person, yet Su Wanren was his cherished sworn sister. This relationship happened to become the sharpest knife in my hands. I had calculated this from the start. Xiao Che would listen to me. After all, I had made the ultimatum. It is either me or her, crystal clear. But before that, I had to let him struggle between his sworn sister and his beloved. For a while, Su Wanren was no pushover either. She would definitely struggle for her own fate, and use some lowly tricks. What I wanted was to see these two tear at each other in agony. This was the true punishment for a scumbag and a green tea bitch. And I had long predicted that the outcome of this entanglement would inevitably be Xiaoqi personally getting rid of Su Wanren. Sure enough, over the next few days, Xiaoqi didn't come looking for me. I spent all day inseparable from Zhou Yuan. At night, under the lamp in his medicine hut, I learned all the acupoints on the body. During the day, I sometimes accompanied him on free medical consultations. Watching him examine patients with gentle words, I felt quite at ease. For Zhou Yuan's mother's birthday banquet, I went along to offer congratulations. At the banquet, the old lady held my hand, smiling with her eyes curved. My dear, if you could really become a daughter-in-law of our Zhou family, that would truly be wonderful. Once the old lady said this, it was equivalent to making the Zhou family's stance clear. Zhou Yuan was a renowned divine doctor in the capital, and the guests who came to offer birthday wishes were a mixed crowd. From princes and nobles, imperial concubines, down to common folk and servants. Even the crown prince and various princes and princesses came. Even the emperor joked about it on the spot. He wanted to bestow a marriage between me and Zhou Yuan, saying Zhou Yuan wasn't young anymore and should settle down and have children. To be honest, Zhou Yuan was gentle as jade and treated people courteously, truly a fine person. But as a scumbag woman like me, I was actually a bit scared of marriage. I tactfully declined the emperor's kind offer on the spot. Just said this matter still needed more consideration. No rush to make a decision. After hearing this, Zhou Yuan and his mother just smiled gently, showing not the slightest hint of disappointment. Zhou Yuan still had that calm, unhurried demeanor, the tenderness in his eyes like rain that wouldn't dissolve. I knew he had long been prepared to fight a protracted battle. I didn't come to this birthday banquet for nothing. I also did something big. I told about the conflict between Xiao Che and Su Wanren, and how the two had conspired together to scheme against the crown prince. I told the crown prince. Although the crown prince didn't deeply love Su Wanren, he did genuinely like her once. Now learning that he had been deceived and schemed against by the two of them together, he immediately flew into a rage, slapping the table and saying, "Neither of these two should expect a good ending. Let them fight like dogs first. As for Xiao Che, how dare he deceive and scheme against me? I absolutely won't let him off easy." The crown prince was already a clever person. Now the emperor, empress dowager in the palace, and quite a few concubines all stood on my side. They were utterly disgusted by Xiaoche's behavior of abandoning his wife and changing his heart. Now that there was a reason to deal with him, Crown Prince naturally didn't mind beating a drowning dog. A few more days passed, and Xiaoche finally made his decision. He came to find me with a face full of joy, but his complexion was haggard, with dark circles under his eyes clearly. These past few days hadn't been easy for him. The moment he saw me, he dropped to his knees with a thud, crying bitterly while clutching my sleeve. "Madam, I've completely thought it through. I can't live without you. I've already dealt with Su Wanren, as you said. She will never appear before us again, rest assured." I flung his hand away fiercely, looking down at him from above, my gaze cold as ice. I did say, "It is either her or me." But when did I ever say I would forgive you, or come back to your side? Xiaoche, you are probably overthinking things. A cheating scumbag of a man, I'll never forgive him in this lifetime. And don't even think about playing the prodigal son turning over a new leaf act with me. With me, there has never been such a thing as turning over a new leaf. The smile on Xiaoche's face instantly froze. His whole body seemed drained of all strength, his eyes unfocused. Then he grabbed the hem of my skirt like a madman, roaring, "What did you say? Shen Lingwei, you can't do this to me. You can't!" Just then, the Crown Prince's men arrived with officials. A maidservant knelt on the ground, pointing at Xiaoche and crying out, "It is him. He is the one who set up a secret torture chamber at home, imprisoned my young miss, and beat her with fists and kicks. Later, he even sent people to kidnap the young lady, and her whereabouts remain unknown to this day." I leisurely pulled out a bag of sunflower seeds. While cracking them, I watched Xiaoche go crazy with great interest. He roared, "I am a marquis who earned my title through military achievements. It is just handling some small matters. What can you do to me?" But the Crown Prince obviously wasn't buying his act. With a wave of his hand, he signaled the guards and officials to step forward, instantly restraining Xiaoche tightly. If it were an ordinary commoner, a marquis torturing someone and quietly making them disappear might really not be a big deal. But now with the Crown Prince involved, it was clear he intended to deal with him. Even with his overwhelming power, he had nowhere to run. Later, Su Wanren, who had been imprisoned in the dark dungeon, was brought back by people sent by the Crown Prince to confront Xiaoche in court. In the courtroom, Su Wanren's appearance was too horrible to look at. Her legs had been broken, and her eyes had been blinded. Having been imprisoned in the dungeon, her body had long become extremely weak. Obviously, Xiaoche had taken out all his anger from our divorce on Su Wanren. It is just that Su Wanren couldn't survive this courtroom confrontation. As soon as she finished describing Xiaoche's torture of her, she breathed her last. As for Xiaoche, for intentionally causing harm resulting in death, though he had military achievements and didn't have to pay a life for a life, he was still thrown into prison. Not to mention, he had also offended the Crown Prince. Naturally, he wouldn't have it easy in prison. There were plenty of people to take care of him. The Crown Prince never intended to actually take his life, he just arranged for his cellmates to give him a proper welcome. But Xiaoche had already risen to such a high position. How could he possibly endure such humiliation? Combined with his already paranoid nature, and realizing he would never get my forgiveness, he completely lost it. In the end, he got into a fight with his cellmates in prison, and was beaten to death. When I learned of Xiaoche's death, I felt somewhat wistful, but even more relieved. In this revenge, this scummy woman ultimately won. It also counts as having avenged the original owner.